Welcome to our Devil. Today we are taking a look at r/relationships. Our first story is from Fragrant Pumpkin 434. I, 27F. Do not want to be friends outside of work with a coworker, 30F. Because her husband, 34M, sucks. So this is between myself, 27. My husband, Chris, 33, and my coworker Trisha, 30, and her husband, Alex, 34. Basically, I have this coworker, Trisha, who I have known for 3 years. This is a remote workplace, so our relationship has always been pretty good, but mostly over Slack and Zoom. I live in a destination area, and this past year, Trish said she wanted to come visit my husband, 33M, and I with her husband. Trisha knows I'm a very outside-oriented person, and most people who visit us want to go skiing or hiking or something like that. So we tentatively set a date in May. The day they came out. Shortly after arriving, she tells me her husband, Alex, just quit his job and is in a bad mood. Not a problem. My husband and I do our best to be good hosts. We invite Trish and Alex to go to a nearby town where there's some other things to do. Trish comes. Alex stays at our house. Alone, which we weren't totally comfortable with, but we were trying to be accommodating. This pattern continues the whole time they're here. We go do something. Alex refuses to participate. When we did spend time in the house, Alex had no idea how to function without Trish showing him how to do basic things, like how to get water from our sink. And he wouldn't participate in conversation, preferring to play games on his laptop. When he did decide to participate, his jokes were mean or overly sexual and directed at me. The day they were set to leave, he misplaced something and lost IT over it, even though Trish had a backup for the item. He yelled at Trish in front of my house and then sat in their car and refused to talk to me while he expected Trish to search through their bags alone. Trish was crying. Alex refused to come in, and it was just really uncomfy. Overall, Alex finally came back in. I tried to calm him down, and he then yelled at me before slamming my door and leaving. Trish gathered their stuff and went with him. So yeah, that was a horrible visit, but I was willing to entertain that maybe Alex had just had a bad day. We made plans for them to come one more time in the last week. I told Trish we were looking forward to seeing them, but that I needed them to stay somewhere else this time since our house is small and it was really compressed. At this point, my husband, Chris, hates Alex for yelling at Trish in front of our house and having a poor attitude during the whole visit. I tell Trish, we want to have a fresh start, but we need some space to do it, but we are so looking forward to seeing them. Well, last week happens, and they arrive and message me while I'm in a meeting. I tell them to check into their hotel and we will connect after my meeting. Then suddenly Trish starts blowing up my phone and demanding I leave the meeting to come talk to her. So I leave the meeting and go see her. Trish tells me she thought they were going to stay with us, and Alex looks mad. I show her our texts and remind her I had specifically said they couldn't stay with us. Trish gets a hotel room for the night, and the next day, they're like, let's go hiking. So I take them on a small hike, and the whole time they're hounding me about, will I change my mind? And can't they stay with us? Alex is doing the thing again where he yells at Trish every time I'm out of sight, and at this point, I am wondering WTF I'm going to do about this. I told Chris I needed backup, and he reiterated to Alex that they wouldn't be able to stay here. I offered to take them camping in the backcountry since I have extra gear, I'm a guide, and we can still have a ton of fun in the backcountry. Alex refuses. Trish tries to tell him it would be fun. Ultimately, they ended up leaving. Trish cried again before they left. I feel bad for Trish at this point because I think it's pretty clear she's in an abusive relationship, not just from this. But she tells me Alex refuses to get a job, won't go to therapy, and blames her or anyone else for any difficult emotions he experiences, but he also refuses to confront those feelings or discuss them with anyone. I don't know what to do though, because I have zero desire to hang out with them ever again. They're like, third time's the charm. Next time will be better, and I'm really uninterested in seeing Alex at any point, and my husband is very close to hating Alex for how he treats Trish. What's the easiest way to disengage from this? I still need to talk to Trish for work, and I want to support her as much as I can. But I really don't think my husband or I can bear to be around Alex. Any ideas on how to politely disengage and decline any future them inviting themselves out situations? TL. Doctor coworker and her abusive husband really want to visit my spouse. And we really don't like her spouse and don't want to be around him. How can I put some healthy distance here while still supporting coworker since her husband seems to be emotionally abusive? Edit. This is less of a big deal. But another thing I've noticed is within work. Trish has started to claim knowledge she doesn't have. As an example, she will say, "I know XYZ about guiding, and if I ask her about it, can you explain X to me?" She can't at all. This is frustrating for me because she doesn't need to be faking this at all. Our workplace is very pro-learning and she wouldn't be in trouble for saying, "I don't know. But I'll find out or ask around." But she refuses to do that. She just doubles down on her fake knowledge that she can't back up. Not only is this unprofessional, but it's also kind of dangerous, especially when it comes to resilient rope systems and knowing how to actually rig things. Again, I would bet this more symptomatic of her marriage and how she is treated by Alex. But it still creates a professional problem for me that is difficult to solve. Edit 2. Because a couple people have mentioned it. I did tell Trish after visit number 1 that Alex was behaving in abusive ways and even if he was depressed. It didn't make it okay. She told me this confirmed what her therapist had been telling her. But that Alex could get better and she wants to support him in doing that. So now he is unemployed. She is the only one working. And Alex games the day away while Trish works. He isn't seeing a therapist yet and who knows when that will change or if it will. Comment by Hats and Top Coats. I'm sorry, Trish. But we're not willing to host Alex again. He's been very unpleasant both times we've seen him. And it makes us uncomfortable to see him getting angry at you. If you would like to come visit by yourself, we'd be happy to see you. But we won't be spending any more time with Alex. And if she does say she'll come by herself, you should make it very clear that if she does try to surprise you by bringing Alex, you won't be okay with that and she should not put either you or herself in the position of forcing you to turn them away. Because otherwise there's probably a really good chance that Alex will coerce her into bringing him and she'll convince herself that it'll be okay. Because her life is probably all about convincing herself that things will be okay. She needs to get out of that marriage. It's really sad. But you can't make that decision for her. Comment by No thanks. I think you just have to be honest. It may actually help Trish to hear someone else validate how bad his behavior is. To be honest, Trish, it was lovely to have you. But it's clear that Alex is abusive. His behavior is not something either husband or myself is willing to tolerate. We would love to host you alone. And I hope you know that I care about you and our friendship. But we will not be around Alex again. Our next story is from Aggravating Soft 959. Wife is pregnant, baby might not be mine. Not quite sure why I'm doing this. I've been drinking quite heavily for most of today, so if I stop making sense you all understand why. I'm 40 male and my wife is 38. She was always adamant that we wouldn't have children. I wanted them but loved her more than the idea of becoming a father. We met when I was 20 and she was 18 and were married by the time I was 22. She came from a very privileged background and her parents did not approve of me. They are of the opinion that she married below her social station. A few months ago she visited her parents and her father bought her a new car. Her parents have serious money and I trusted her, so it wasn't something that I questioned. Plus she's always received gifts from her father over the years. Why would this one be any different? A couple of weeks ago she told me that she was pregnant and I was ecstatic. Happier than I've ever been. But it didn't last long. I got a call from a friend and he told me that he'd seen her with her brother-in-law, sister's husband, while she was visiting her parents. She hadn't told me that she'd seen him. They've always had a weird dynamic that's made me uncomfortable, but I consoled myself with the view that she had chosen me. She could have been with him but she had chosen me. My friend sent me some pictures and it changed things. The images showed a couple that were very close. The image showed them gazing and holding each other. The intimate gestures of ones familiar with each other. Her gazing at home with a look that I had hoped was reserved for myself. His hands in her hair as he kissed her. Turns out it's more than likely he bought her the car. I confronted her about it. Asked her what happened but she lied. Told me she hadn't seen him. Told me that I should know the score between them. That she has to be civil. Very ducking civil. I showed her the pictures and told her to leave. That was a week ago. Then I did the maths in my head and realized the dates line up. There is a very real chance he might be the baby's father. Today I asked her for a DNA test but she exploded at that. The thought of subjecting her baby to a test. But without one, I'll never accept this child as mine. This whole ordeal has made me reconsider my marriage. Not only that, but how honest she's been throughout it. How many of the gifts that she's received over the years have actually been from her father? Has she just spread her legs for any man that's bought her something nice? Have I quite literally married a escort? I've sent her sister the pictures. Not for any noble reason of thinking that she should know. I want to hurt my wife and brother-in-law, and that's the best way I know at the moment. On Monday I think I'm going to talk to a lawyer and set the divorce proceedings in motion. Thank you for reading, and I'm sorry if this is a mess. My mental state isn't great and I've had a lot to drink. Edit. Thanks for the support. Those that don't believe me, that's your prerogative. This is the internet and I understand your skepticism. Need her permission for a DNA test and she's made it clear that she won't give it. The next step is I get a divorce and lose half my stuff. Infidelity doesn't matter as much to the UK courts. Dyslexia and a high blood alcohol level are responsible for any spelling and grammatical mistakes. Comment by Bensel McPrush. Whether the kid is yours or not, you need to burn this sham of a marriage to the ground. Do not sign anything until the DNA test is conclusive. Comment by abbreviations FAR 7867. Demand, via court order if necessary, a DNA/paternity test before you even consider signing off on a birth certificate. There's no legitimate reason for you to get stuck paying child support for or raising a child that is not yours. Update. I've not spoke to my wife in close to 10 days. She sent me some messages and left voicemails, but I haven't responded to any of them. I made my position clear with her. When she agrees to a DNA test, I'll talk to her, not before. I spent Christmas with a close friend and he gave me some advice about what to do with my future. I used to row and box in my early 20s and I plan to start doing that again. I'm also giving up alcohol for the foreseeable future. It doesn't do my mental state any good. I have an appointment with a lawyer and a therapist next week. I plan to get myself sorted mentally, emotionally and legally so that I don't get deducted in the coming months. Whether or not I get divorced in the end, I need to know my options and the consequences. I've spoken to my sister-in-law on a few occasions and she's going down a similar route to me and filing for divorce in the new year. Her and my brother-in-law have a young daughter, so life's going to get quite complicated for them. If the baby turns out to be his, then they can have one really ducked up family. I'm jumping from wanting the baby to not. If it's mine, then I get to be a dad, but my life gets serious complicated. If it's someone else's, then I can be done with all of them and have a fresh start, but the thought that she'd have another man's child is profoundly depressing. If it's not my child, then I think I'll move somewhere else. Maybe apply for a work visa in America. Transfer to one of the European branches of the company, or spend a few years living as a nomad traveling around the world. Haven't thought that far ahead yet, but I doubt I'll stay in the UK. If it is mine, then things will be much more complicated. I haven't told her about my plans for the future because at its current standpoint she's not in them. That might change, but at its current standpoint that's unlikely. As updates go, this one is probably disappointing, but it is what it is. If she agrees to a DNA test, then I'll provide another update, but at this point that seems quite unlikely. Comment by Opinionated IMO. At this point, if she agrees to the DNA test and the child is biologically yours, your relationship is still basically tarnished from the situation. Good luck, man. I've been there. You'll get through it. Comment by Switch SCETOAUX. There is a great song by the Rolling Stones called "Time Is on My Side." It should be your new theme song. She can deny taking the DNA test while she's pregnant. But the delay on her part really is just the deadliest form of denial. After the child is born, you can challenge paternity and ask for the DNA test at that time. If it's yours, You will have had the whole pregnancy timeline to initiate divorce proceedings and even negotiate a child care plan, etc. If it's not yours, wish her luck. Get on a plane and get the hell away from there. Have that escape plan handy like Andy Dufresne in The Shawshank Redemption. You may have to climb through some shit to get to freedom. But it will be worth it. My guess is that she has a strong feeling that it's not your child. Which is why she's as panic/delay mode, etc. One little mistake shouldn't be a reason to end a great marriage, and other garbage statements that we can all predict from the playbook. Your sobriety challenge is a good one. Get in shape with your exercise. Lose some weight, intermittent fasting and keto diet are awesome. Do some hobbies, etc. Final update. It's been almost 6 months since I posted anything, and quite a lot has changed for me in the last few months. I got a temporary transfer to one of the northern branches of my company. They say a change is as good as a rest, and in this instance it was. Working somewhere different was definitely what I needed, and it was nice to be somewhere where I wasn't reminded about my current situation. When I returned home, it really clicked how unhappy I have been in London. It's not a city that I enjoy living and working in, and I've made the decision to move. I did also have a short casual relationship with someone else, but it didn't really go anywhere. I thought some meaningless intimacy would help. And during the act it did, but afterwards I always felt guilty, so I stopped. My wife had the baby last Monday. She also agreed to a DNA test. I saw her on Wednesday, which was an experience. I haven't really spoken to her in the last 6 months, so the meeting was very awkward. Her parents have never really liked me, and the last few months have done nothing to improve their opinion of me. She kept on asking me if I could feel it, while I held the baby. I'm not quite sure what it is, but I did feel something. I told her about my plans to move, and she was very much on board with that, insisting that it could be a fresh start for us. She maintained that she never had an affair. I don't know if I believe that, but I have no evidence. I'm not certain that I want her to come with me. I did get the results from the test a few days ago, and it is my baby. She's made her position clear. She wants us to be one family, one household. The thing is, I really don't know if that's what I want anymore. Truth be told, I have no clue what I want anymore. The main thing that I feel at the moment is confused and uncertain. Stay with her or leave her. I am in a lot of respects tied to her now through our son. It's something that I'm putting a lot of thought into before I decide. My therapist says that trust is everything in any relationship, and if you don't trust someone, then you can't have real relationship with them. He also asked if I could trust her again or see myself being in a position where I could trust her again in the future. Both questions I don't know how to answer at the moment. I am not looking for advice. I'm well aware of the echo chamber that is Reddit. I don't think I'll post another update as I don't see any point. Comment by Paturuzu12. I hope you find clarity and happiness in your journey. Comment by Benadij. How does she explain the photographic evidence then? Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, smash the like button, and subscribe to our Devil. See you in the next one.